crazy awesome. Oh, she's amazing. She's crazy awesome.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Talk with Brandy, where we're going to explore life together, and if you want to and you're ready, we're going to move forward and create more deeper connections. Now I say if you're ready, that's the important part. Like everything about peer support really is to honor your own journey. I am not here to tell you what to do in your life. I'm here to help you create a path to deeper things in your life if you're ready. And I think that's the beautiful thing about peer support. When I come alongside people, I'm not there to tell them what to do. I'm there to help support them through what they want to do. And I feel, again, very strongly that our systems do not create equal access for people to access support. And that's why I'm here. And today, one of the things that I was thinking about talking about was how to create those deeper connections. Are you ready to have connections that are not just surface? Are you ready to have connections where you feel seen and heard? Now, this can be hard because we can't force somebody to see us and hear us. And at the same time, if you lead by example, what I have noticed is you will find the people in your life that will be part of that change for you. I invited one of my friends this morning to be part of the show, and they were very excited. And as I was getting ready to do the show today, I received this text from this person who said that they were feeling a lot of anxiety about coming and being on camera. Now, I want to take a moment because this is about mental health and explain a little bit about people who experience anxiety. Every single one of us on some level experiences anxiety. It's just part of life. There are some people, actually the two top things that people experience for mental health challenges is anxiety and depression. Now a little bit in my video last week, we learned about compliments and all that kind of stuff. Everything that we do everything in mental health, we can feel it in our bodies. So when somebody is experiencing a high level anxiety, it's not just in their head, it is in their body. We can feel it on many levels. So anxiety can run from your heart racing to thoughts that are racing to even diarrhea. I mean, we laugh about that, but those are things that can be part and present in anxiety. And so when my friend she texted me this morning and letting me know that her anxiety was really high, it was okay. Like, it's okay. You don't have to be here. As much as I want her to be here, she did write some beautiful words to add to this blog today. So I'll read them in a little while. But I just want to acknowledge and talk about anxiety, that it is real, and for anybody that experiences it on a clinical level, just to make sure that you hold some space for people in your life. Like if they're saying, I'm really stressed out, I can't go to the movies with you today, or whatever that might be, just have some space in your heart to recognize that maybe that's anxiety, and who knows, maybe when you're creating these deeper connections, that you'll be able to find out some of those things with your friends if they're experiencing that, and if people feel brave enough to share those kinds of things. So I wanted to take that opportunity to thank my beautiful friend, who most likely is going to watch this and hear the words that I'm talking about. But I just want you to know, friend, that I love you, and I am grateful that you honored your space and where you were in your journey to tell me that it was just a little too much for you, because I feel that so strongly we need to have those safe connections where we can feel safe. So I hope as you're watching Coffee Talk with Brandy and we talk about anxiety and depression and everything mental health, relationships, all those kind of things, that we can be mindful that everybody's journey is different, and that when we take that time and that space to pull back, to figure out and be curious about other people and what they're experiencing, it can lead us to deeper connections. I have a really hard time staying surface for anybody that knows me. And it can be really difficult, especially in the dating world, because I don't thrive on that surface level. It bores me to death. So I have to be aware and cognizant of, maybe going too deep too fast. But when we're wanting to have deeper connections, I find that for me, one of the most important things is to show interest in the people. We exchange pleasantries every day, and I really don't know why we call them pleasantries, because they're not really pleasant. Sorry, I can't talk. Like you ask somebody, well, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm fine. And then we just, we run off to the next thing. And here's where we can start having deeper connections. The next time you want to connect with somebody a little bit more, and to feel like you want to create space so that you have a better relationship, whether it's a friend, whether it's in your dating partners, whatever it looks like, create that space and role model that space for people, because so often we don't stop to listen to one another. We just go on our merry way. And there is beauty in being honest and real with where we're at. And when we start to seek those answers from other people, when we're with them in their space, they're going to start feeling seen and heard. And we're role modeling that for them. Now, I can't say that people will be ready to do that as well. I just know in my own life, when I have wanted to create and be in spaces and places where people were valuing me, these are one of the things that I did. I think I did it a lot just because this is naturally who I am, and I'm very curious about people. So if you can cultivate that curiosity about other people and be present with them, and being present means giving them your full attention, which is really difficult. And we can talk more about this later, about why it's difficult. If we have experienced a trauma or adverse childhood experiences, anything like that, trauma is literally a disconnect from our body. And when we have high anxiety, we can forget to be present because we're worried about the past or the future. And that can be really hard. So it's one of those mindful things. And again, we can discuss that more in detail in other shows as this unwinds. And please feel free to message me on my Facebook profile, or if you're on Instagram, feel free to message me. I am working on a website. I just haven't got there yet. But so feel free to message me the things that you would like to talk about, or if you have ideas of what it is for you that helps you to create deeper connections. So when we're with somebody and they say, oh, I'm fine, take that moment, or if they just say they're okay, take that moment and go, well, tell me a little bit more about that. What's been okay today? Because we know if somebody hasn't said, well, I'm good, or I'm great, all that stuff, we know that there's some underlining things. And if you want to create a more meaningful relationship with somebody, holding that space for them is really important. And this is all building skills. Like, we talk about the fact that we go to school to learn about math and science and all of these things. And there's really not this space for us to cultivate skills on how to effectively communicate with one another. What kind of things can we do that we can create better relationships? So this is skill building. And it's not always easy. And, and everybody's going to be in their own place in their process of owning their authenticity. So when we're asking somebody, I have noticed in my own life, and I don't know what anybody else's experiences are like. So sometimes for me, people are very open to talking to me and telling me what's going on. Whether it's somebody I just saw at the grocery store, or somebody that I've known for a long time. And I didn't realize that my own experience of people talking to me in public all the time without even knowing me was kind of my own. I didn't realize that people just don't go up and talk to people all the time in the grocery store, and that's happened to me all of my life. So it's only in the last 4 years I've realized that that doesn't happen to everybody. I'm sorry. So it's trying to be authentic for yourself as well, and leaning into that can be really difficult. So do what is best for you. But if you want to start connecting on that level, becoming authentic with where you are is really important. And it doesn't mean you have to dump on anybody, you know. A lot of people aren't ready for all that. So I get that. And at the same time, you know, if you just had a really hard day and just want to say, you know what, my day's been really hard, and I'm really thankful that you asked. And if you would like to hear more, I can share with you. And if you don't, that's okay too. You know, sometimes being brave is scary, and it's putting yourself out there. I know for me, like, I've always been pretty authentic, and I'm an external processor, so I talk a lot. Big surprise. And I had an experience a few years ago. So I've been teaching a parenting group for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now. And one of the things that I like to talk about a little bit is being that authentic self and cultivating that space for your children to allow their authenticity to come to the surface so that they can feel seen and heard too. And there was this time where I was at one of the local grocery stores, and I had an extremely bad day, and now I had to go teach, and I was not in the mind frame to go teach, but I had to do it. And as I was getting through the checkout counter, this handsome, kind gentleman on the other side had said to me, "How are you doing today?" Now, I could have just said, "Oh, I'm fine." You know, I could have just said, "Yep, I'm fine. I don't need you to investigate in my life," right? But as I'm pretty open, and I'm pretty honest. I just let him know, you know what? I've had really a very hard day, and now I have to go teach, and I just don't even know how I'm going to have the energy to do that. And this wonderful soul on the other side looks at me and he says, "Do you like flowers?" And I was like, yeah, of course I do. He's like, "Well, I want you to go pick out your favorite bouquet over there because I want to buy them for you. Because I see that you're having a hard day." Now, mind you, I'm kind of a crier. And at this moment, I am in tears because he was so gentle and such a kind soul that it was just such a beautiful act. So I go get those flowers. And this guy, I don't even know him, right? And he and I have this moment because I chose to be vulnerable and I chose to lean into authenticity, and we created a true and honest connection. Now, we didn't have to go deep into stories. We just had this moment. And let me tell you, this was a couple years ago. I tell the story every time I teach to the high schools about really striving to be your authentic self and leaning into connections so that you can create connections that are worth keeping. And this gentleman, I won't name his name, but I do say in the high schools because he does not mind. We're not best friends. Like, I don't go out with him and hang out with him. But ironically, his wife does a lot of the same kind of work that I do. And he just had a new little one. And this person and I are now buds. Like, every time I go into the store, he is always there with waiting for a hug and just to see how I'm doing. And I think that's such a beautiful thing when we can learn to lean into these hard things sometimes and be truthful with where we are. We can create real connections. Now, I used to own my own cookie store, and oftentimes I make cookies for this young man and some of the other people that work at this grocery store because I want to continue that connection. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's just leaning into that authenticity of being real. Again, it's not about having to tell somebody your whole life story. It's really about opening the door for that real connection if you're ready. Now, I say if you're ready because, again, it's important. Like, The work we're going to do here on Coffee Talk with Brandy is really all about you. What is it that you need in your life to feel a deeper connection? Nobody else can tell you what that is. I can tell you what it looks like for me. My friend wrote some beautiful words. So let me put my glasses on and pull this up. And I think probably glaring on the screen. Oh well. It's all good in the hood. Maybe I'll just go like this, look older. So my friend sent these beautiful words about connection and what deeper connection means to her, because it can mean different things for all of us again. So if you want to write in this video in the comments, like, what does deeper connection mean for you, and what do you do to create that deeper connection with your own friendships or relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, partners. It is not enough to love someone. You must be able to express your love through actions. Friends, companionship is a two-way street. Reciprocity, which is something I speak a lot about in general in my life, reciprocity is extremely important. And, you know, if you want to have those deeper connections, I challenge you to ask yourself, in any connection that you have, is there reciprocity? And if there isn't, then ask yourself, do I like that? If somebody isn't being reciprocal with their friendship or their love for you, it's okay to ask yourself, you know, do I want that in my life? Because love and friendship and deeper connections should be reciprocal. Friends, companionship is a two-way street, as she just said. Deeper connections begin with deepening the love for yourself. To find or know what is beautiful or meaningful to you will in turn guide you to others with common values and views. This is really important, and I really agree with that as well. And and I talked a little bit about it on a post I made, because it talks about how we tell people all the time, you know, you need to love yourself before anybody else can love you. And I used to subscribe to that because that's just what's pushed at us. And then I started to realize, thank goodness, through some of the work that Dr. Mate does and other people, and I don't have their names offhand, so I apologize. But one of the things they talk about is, how do we learn to love ourselves if we haven't experienced being loved first? Now, granted, we're all born, hopefully, into loving, you know, connective families, but the reality is a lot of us didn't hear "I love you." A lot of us didn't feel the "I love yous." Love was there, but it was withheld in many of our relationships. So if that's one of the things, like, it really takes time to learn to love ourselves. So please be patient with yourself. You are worthy of love and belonging, and it might take a little while to see that. One of the therapists that I worked with really encouraged me to reach out to other people and ask them for some validation. And it might seem a little silly, because sometimes people will say, well, you don't need me to validate you. The truth is sometimes we do. Sometimes we need to see ourselves through other people. And it goes back to allowing those compliments and those kind words in. In my first video, I talked a little bit about that. Like, what does it look like to allow that kindness in? So, you know, feel free to go back to that video and check that out. Deeper connections begin with deepening love for yourself to find or know and meaningful, beautiful things. Sorry, I just read that. But yes, knowing a love or respect for oneself opens your heart to loving for love's sake rather than what a person can do for you. I think that I really agree with that. You know, there are a lot of people who do want something in return, and we're taught that things are so conditional. And when you can truly learn to love without expectations, which is not easy, it's something that I'm still working on most of the time. I'm pretty good with it. Like, I have learned to not hold expectations for other people. Like, you know, my expectations of other people shouldn't. We just shouldn't. I mean, I don't like to say should. You know, don't should on me. I mean, it's kind of a funny thing, inside joke. Sorry, maybe I'll tell you another thing. But oftentimes we tell people, well, you should do this, you should do that. And it's really not, do what's best for you. Please don't tell me I should or should not do something. But for me, expectations of other people is just comes down to, why do I have those expectations and what am I hoping to get from them? So she writes, what does it look like to her, and of learning to love yourself a little bit more. And this is what it is for her: taking time for yourself daily. Examine your unique talents. Every single one of you watching right now has talent, whether you realize it or not. For the longest time, I didn't know what my talent was. I couldn't sing especially great, but ironically, I look back and I was like, I was in band, choir, drama. I did all of these things, but I still couldn't see my own talents. But you have an awesome, unique talent that lots of people don't have. So please celebrate yourself. You are important. Enjoy what makes your heart sing. And I really like that because music is beautiful to me. Pamper yourself once in a while. Advocate for yourself. Definitely advocating for ourselves shows us that we are empowering ourselves to do the things that we want to do. It is really hard. Number one, we can go into this in another video about sometimes it's hard to say no. And if that's something that you experience, let's talk about that, because I've been there. I did not know how to say no. I was a people pleaser and I wanted to please every single person, and I didn't give those boundaries for myself. And I've learned. So let's talk about that in another video. She talks about giving our presence and being mindful. So being very present when you're there. Meet in that moment, not looking at the past or forecasting the future. And again, that kind of goes into a little bit of trauma sometimes. Sometimes we have a really hard time being present. And if that's something that's really hard for you, I really challenge you to start asking yourself, if you want that growth, what is it that keeps me from being present? And slowly work on that, whether it's asking for a peer support in your area, or reaching out to a therapist or even a friend. I know that mental health and peers are not always accessible. This is why, again, I'm doing this. I want to be accessible. I want people to learn and grow if they are ready, and I want them to feel loved. Tune in to someone without distraction or a feeling of, I should be doing this right now. Sit together, relax, and talk. When two people are truly present with each other as you are apart, you can rest easily knowing they care for you and you care for them. I think that's beautiful advice from my friend, and things that we can all look forward to. So what is it that helps you to be more present? And what is it that might help you to be and create more meaningful relationships? For me, again, it can be that one little step. Learning to be authentic and asking people a little more question about how their day was. Tell me what it's like. What do you mean by okay? Like, what does okay really mean? Invest in them. Because when you invest in them, they're going to invest in you. And if they don't, that is a clue for you that maybe that friendship or relationship isn't the best. Maybe it's not watering and filling your cup either. You know what? And some of this growth that we're doing here can really be hard. For the longest time, I did not have true reciprocity in a lot of my friendships. And I took that to heart to figure out, why is it that I am so kind and I'm so present with so many people, and yet I'm not quite sure why that's not coming back to me. Because they have the whole, if you're going to do this, you're going to bring it in. Well, that's true. And there's also this part of familiarity in your life that if you're used to those kind of connections and they're not filling your cup, that's when we step back and say, oh my gosh, I wonder what's going on. Why is this going on for me? I think the most beautiful thing is that our brains love to answer questions. So this whole thing with Coffee Talk with Brandy is really truly about getting to know yourself. Because when we start asking ourselves these questions, our brains are going to want to answer it, and we're going to come to know ourselves a little bit more. You don't have to tell anybody your truth if you're not ready, but when you start to see the reasons why you behave the way you do, you're going to start to see just a huge picture of who you are. So often we have skipped or jumped into certain relationships and we have not even stopped to think about what it is that we want. And I think that's such an important question. I think maybe this next time we'll talk about that. What is it that you want out of your life outside from every other relationship that you have? Finding out who you are gives us the power to move forward and to live a beautiful life where we feel and see that our own happiness is truly important in our lives and not that we're second best. Whether you're a mom, a dad, a brother, sister, a parent, child, whatever. So often we live our lives for other people. So I just want you to know that I love you guys and I am so grateful to be doing this, and hopefully that I can help anyone, even one person. If one person feels more filled in their lives because they're able to tune in, I really appreciate that. I hope you have a beautiful week and I will see you on the flip side. Have a good day. Bye, guys.